Yeah, thank you very much. Mitenda, good morning and greetings from Cornwall. It's so really wonderful and an absolute honour to be invited to speak at this event today, to be considered worthy of standing on this virtual stage alongside world's top scientists and fellow councillors is a great tribute to all the climate emergency work taking place in Cornwall. So as one of the UK's least developed regions, our rurality is one of our biggest challenges, yet in developing our response to climate change is our biggest strength, with our countryside and our ocean offering opportunities for solutions. In realising how vulnerable geographically and economically Cornwall is to climate change, we declared an emergency back in January 2019. We prepared a holistic carbon neutral Cornwall action plan to help fight climate change, tackle inequalities and bring benefits to how well our communities are able to live and prosper in the future. Social justice was really important to councillors, and we set a target for the whole of Cornwall to reach net carbon neutrality by 2030. In aiming for 2030 and not the government's 2050 target, we were very aware that we were setting ourselves a challenging deadline, which may prove impossible to achieve. But we know we had to act, and we had to act quickly. But we weren't coming from a standing start. We weren't starting from scratch. We had the foundations of our previous Green Cornwall programme, our environmental growth strategy, and the 50-50 future Cornwall strategies to build on. It was important to understand Cornwall's carbon footprint and our highest emitting sectors to inform the areas we needed to focus on. So we partnered with the Exeter University, who produced the 2030 and 2050 carbon neutral scenarios for Cornwall. This shaped our plans, identified key milestones, and helped to shape our partnership approach and governance. We audited the council's own carbon footprint as well, and we spoke to thousands of residents to understand their views on the options we were considering. The action plan that resulted was comprehensive, with over 120 actions and a requirement for £70 million of capital funding. It was important to acknowledge our role in the system as system leaders. So we based our action plan around 3 pillars to deliver our ambition for Cornwall, our people and our planet, and they are an operational programme focusing on getting our own house in order and practicing what we preach, and leading by good example and sharing good practice. The areas we can facilitate as an enabler or partner through funding, policy and partnership working, and where we can build on our strong track record of delivery and work with the government to secure additional powers and funding and new legislation to respond to the climate emergency. Whilst the council is in control of our decisions and actions to become carbon neutral council, we fully appreciate how vital it is for everyone to understand what will be different in a carbon neutral Cornwall is how we all live, how we work, how we travel. If we are to bring one and all with us on this challenging journey, we have to be honest. We have also always been clear that Cornwall Council cannot deliver on this ambitious task alone, and supporting Cornwall's communities and residents to change how they think and behave is a vital and challenging aspect of our programme. Cornwall produces about 1.5% of the carbon footprint of Cornwall, so 98.5% is the rest of Cornwall. So we have developed a sector partnership group made up of representatives from transport, energy, agriculture and other sectors to better understand and use the expertise of organisations across Cornwall. Working on a hive mind approach, we have developed the Carbon Neutral Cornwall Hive, an online engagement platform to share information and knowledge for inspiration. And we have held online masterclasses showcasing some of Cornwall's great projects. But we can't be everything to everybody, and we can't do it for them. We're not the mother. Not all of Cornwall's 113 town and parish councils are proactive, and trying to get some councils to take action, and while supporting the progressive groups, with their own ambitions is quite tough. Developing and sharing resources could and should be easier. We have developed an online climate literacy training course for all our staff, and that will be rolled out to all new members after the election. But the mechanics to share it wider are frustratingly torturous. The lockdowns brought a halt to our community climate action workshops, and they have filled the gaps themselves, which is fantastic. We are now working collaboratively with the Cornwall's Climate Action Network. It's a network of 50 groups to help grow action in town and villages right across Cornwall. And we have behaviour change campaigns planned for when we have all settled into whatever the new normal of living is. Forgive me for an incredibly complex and busy slide. You can look at that at your leisure afterwards, but governance is an essential part of delivering on our ambitions. And this slide is a visualization of the complexities within which we work and the scale and ambition of approach, which was realigned to mirror our post-pandemic recovery and renewal. With a climate change board to ensure strategic oversight and our chief executive as the senior representing officer, a programme delivery group to embed ownership and accountability within services, and an overview and scrutiny committee to direct and ensure wider engagement and ownership of the plan. And of course, the Cornwall Leadership Board, which declared their own climate emergency, have oversight of the facilitation, regional and national elements of the programme. So what have we been up to? So in adopting the action plan, Cabinet agreed 3 priority areas of work for transformational effect, which are whole house retrofit pilot, the climate emergency development plan document or DPD, and our forest for Cornwall. So focusing on the whole house retrofit project, in developing these actions, we became one of the 5 areas to secure government innovation funding to deliver whole house retrofit pilot, to improve the efficiency of our council-owned homes and reduce their emissions by over 75%. With half of Cornwall actually off gas grid and over 70,000 solid wall properties, retrofitting is an important aspect of our action plan, and the pilot results will inform our next ask of government for the funding and skills required to deliver a mass retrofit of Cornwall's housing stock. Identifying homes suitable for retrofitting limited our choice to clusters of properties, and the government's deadlines and embargoes were challenging. But our start date was put back twice due to COVID lockdowns, but having expanded our programme with other government funding, when complete, we would have retrofitted over 200 homes and fitted over 600 PV installations. So the Climate Emergency Development Plan document. This will set the policy to protect our environment, encourage better development that uses less energy and allocate land for renewables and carbon sequestration, along with our second ask of government to improve future home standards and prevent retrofitting problems in the future. As a unitary authority, it's been more straightforward for us to develop a climate emergency DPD, and we are now at the final stages of the formal consultation before we submit for examination. Cornwall's residents have a love-hate relationship with planning, and fellow councillors, I think, will relate to that. To add to that, the COVID lockdown made public consultation more challenging, and we had to undertake a lot of our engagement digitally. But we have been able to hold some face-to-face events, obviously observing COVID-safe procedures in the latter stages of the plan. And the forest for Cornwall. In speaking to people on the doorsteps and street corners, we learned that trees and nature were important to many of them. We developed the forest for Cornwall as our natural solution to climate change to help sequester carbon from the atmosphere. The 8,000 hectare forest will be grown across Cornwall with the support of partners, but it's not just one big forest. It could be trees, it could be a single tree, it could be an orchard, a copse, hedges, and the use of other natural climate change, such as wildflower meadows and marine eelgrass, for example. There is a general shortage of trees to plant, and we are dedicating areas of our own council-owned farms 11,000 acres across Cornwall to become tree nurseries. We also need the land to plant the trees on and the volunteers to plant them, all of which is a gift in the gift of the good people of Cornwall and our partners. An additional key action that's been developed is our decision-making wheel in response to Cabinet concerns that no Cornish resident or business should be worse off as a result of our response to the climate emergency. Based on the Kate Raworth Donut economics model, the tool has been used in all Cabinet decisions since September 2019 and ensures that social justice and environmental principles are at the heart of our decision-making. And we are further embedding the tool into our wider decision-making processes, including procurement, and for a first this year in our budget setting, placing people and planet at the core of everything we do. Delivering early activity to show our commitment to acting on climate change was vital to build momentum and keep things going and show that we are actually delivering, not just talking about it. Along with the projects that I've already mentioned, thanks to an innovative partnership with Centrica, the Council funded and installed the first wind turbine in Cornwall since 2016 that is smart grid connected to overcome Cornwall's grid constraints, which is our third ask of government, and vital if we are to unlock Cornwall's renewable energy potential. We see us as the UK's powerhouse for renewables. Having invested in the UK's first deep geothermal heat and power project, the Council agreed to match fund a second geothermal project at the Eden project, which you might have heard of, increasing Cornwall's potential to create a new energy sector for the UK. We are exploring green fuel as well as green energy. We have partnered with Bennaman, an innovative Cornish company who is developing biogas fuel from captured methane on 6 of the council-owned farms. The biogas is then being used in our converted highways repair and maintenance vehicles. The plan is to upscale the project on farms right across Cornwall and then the UK and perhaps the world. We have also invested in new lower emission buses, fire appliances and waste vehicles, collection vehicles, and we've ordered our first wave of electric vehicles for our fleet transition, showcasing that EVs can be a practical alternative to fossil fuel vehicles. And we've also secured £23.5 million from government to pilot a reduced bus fare scheme to encourage people to travel by bus. Prior to the pandemic, Cornwall had seen a 5% increase in public transport usage. Obviously, the pandemic has put paid to that.
Edwina, 1 minute, please.
I'm on my last slide. And as well as investing directly into schemes ourselves to respond to the climate emergency, we created 3 climate emergency grant schemes to support community action planning, low carbon and carbon sequestration projects. And only last week, we launched the Back the Future Cornwall Climate Change Fund that will enable residents, businesses and visitors to directly support Cornwall's climate emergency. Miraz, thank you. I hope you found that interesting and useful. My best advice is to stock up on perseverance and don't underestimate the power of people to make change. You will have powerful and passionate people in your own areas who care about climate change and are able and ready to help you. They may even have already knocked on your door. The best way for them to join you is to keep your door open. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you very much, Edwina. That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you.